This is the most basic vegetarian dumpling filling that I could come up with, using ingredients that you can get anywhere, like literally anywhere. First coffee of the day. For my first YouTube video, I thought we should just make some dumplings, chat, answer some of your questions that you asked me on Instagram. Just like get to know each other. So I sent out an Instagram post and I asked you guys to ask me questions that I can answer in this exact video. So let's take a look at them.
I'm a new follower and would just love to have a brief intro. Well, let me try to keep this as succinct as possible. My name is Emma Chung. I was originally born in Sydney, Australia, and that's a whole story on its own, but I left soon after I was born. My whole family moved back to Hong Kong, which is where we're originally from. But I only lived there until I was 5. I moved to Shanghai, China for my parents' work, and that was during a time when a wave of Hong Kongers were moving to mainland China for work opportunities. I went to an international school where the language of instruction was English, and that explains why I speak very fluent English with a slight American accent, even though I spent my entire life in China. I lived there until I was 18 years old, and then I went to the US for college. I studied environmental science and anthropology, and I minored in French. So yes, I speak English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and some French. When I graduated, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, as I think most fresh grads feel. I didn't want to stay in the US, but I didn't want to go back to China. Around the time I graduated, my godsister, who was living in London, asked if I wanted to stay with her. I had no other plan, so I took her up on the offer. I moved to London at 22 with no plan, no job, and I slept on her sofa for 3 months. After many job applications, I eventually got a job as a cookery teacher, teaching at an Asian cookery school. I was there for 2 years and I taught hundreds of people how to cook. Thai curries, homemade dim sum, Chinese stir fries, Vietnamese spring rolls, the list goes on. It was while I was at this cookery school that I filmed my first YouTube videos for the school's YouTube channel, and I was exposed to the foodie world in London for the first time. But that job was really tough because it's hospitality, so standing all day, a completely different social schedule to all my friends. I'd cook all day but not really eat anything because I was so busy, and obviously facing customers like that all day, every day is exhausting. So I quit the cookery job, and I was freelancing for around 6 months with basically no plan. I was doing different private catering and food styling gigs from WhatsApp groups that I was in. It sounds really glamorous, but it really is far from that. By this point, I'd moved out after living in a few different shared housing situations. I moved in with my best friend from Shanghai, who also lived and worked in London. And then after many more job applications, I eventually landed my first slightly more corporate job. It was a 9 to 5, well, 9 to 6, for a recipe delivery box company, very similar to HelloFresh, if you know what that is. And this is really where my life story starts to take a turn and eventually leads me to where I am now, which is sitting in my bedroom in my parents' apartment in Hong Kong, recording the voiceover for my very first YouTube video. But before I get into all that, let's quickly go over what I'm making here. So this is a vegetarian dumpling filling. It's the recipe that we used to teach all the time back when I was working at the cookery school. You can shove all the ingredients into a food processor to save time, but I find that hand chopping all the ingredients separately gives it a really nice texture. I'm using rehydrated shiitake mushrooms here, which means I soaked dried shiitake mushrooms in cold water overnight, or I cooked them in some hot water over a stove for 10 minutes until they softened. If you can't find these mushrooms, skip it, or you can fry off some finely chopped fresh mushrooms and mix that through your filling. Once I've pressed my tofu to remove that excess moisture, I then crumble it into small pieces straight into the bowl with the rest of the ingredients, and I'm also going to squeeze out the excess moisture from the cabbage so you don't end up with a filling that's too wet. You want to finely chop all of your ingredients so that when you're filling your dumpling, you don't have a big chunk of mushroom or cabbage wanting to poke out of the dumpling skin. Now I'm going to season it with a classic Chinese marinade of sesame oil, salt, sugar, not too much salt because you already salted the cabbage, a bit of white pepper, and also vegetarian oyster sauce. I also used light and dark soy, which are not the same thing.
Dark soy sauce, it's like thick. You see that? Light soy sauce, not thick. So you use them in different ways. Light soy sauce, you use like a salt, and then dark soy sauce you add for like that beautiful brown color or a bit of sweetness. I use a mixture of both in this filling, but I'm always going to use like twice as much light soy as dark soy. If you put too much of this in, it becomes like too sweet and it goes like all brown, which is not what you want. That is actually one of my most frequently asked questions. Do not wrap your dumplings until you taste the filling and you're like, oh yeah, that's good. Even when I make a meat filling, I fry off a small teaspoon and then I taste it so that I don't end up with loads of dumplings that are like under seasoned. So I flatten that piece of dough ball and you're gonna see that I roll my rolling pin halfway up and then back down, and then I turn. Halfway up, back down, and then I turn. And then you keep on doing this at a certain pace. It's okay if it's like a little bit, you know, like not together. You can just pinch it together and it's absolutely fine. No need to stress. Just back and forth like this. Okay, moving on to another question. It was at that job that I started posting food videos. I really missed cooking because in my old job I was cooking so much, and at this new job I was basically like looking at a computer all day 9 to 5. And so I started posting videos on TikTok, on Instagram, and this was like the summer of July 2022. I would film the video over the weekend and then I would edit it, and then on like a Wednesday afternoon around lunchtime I'd like go into the toilets like at work and post it, because I told myself that like I'm just gonna post every Wednesday at like a lunchtime. That's just what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna stick to it. And nobody at my work even knew that I was doing this. Like most of the people in my life didn't really know I was doing this. It was just completely for fun. And this exact time last year, I didn't even have like 10K Instagram followers. I maybe had like 6 or 7K. And that was like a lot for me. I was like, oh my God, like almost 10K followers. And then I had a few videos that like did really well and took off. And then within a span of 2 months, I hit 100K. It wasn't even on my mind to grow that big or to like for any video to like go viral or anything. Like I was literally just posting videos because I miss cooking. I was cooking a lot at home anyway, so I was just like, why don't I just, you know, post them online? I use like this broken iPhone XR to film all my food videos and edit them, and I use like any free online video app that I could download, and I just use like my Apple headphones to record the audio. This is a budget production, okay? Eventually I showed up like on my coworker's feed. My manager told me that she was scrolling through TikTok and she was like, oh my gosh, like that spring onion pancake looks really good. And she was like, wait, is that Emma? Excuse my appearances, I'm just editing this YouTube video now, but I just want to say quickly, thank you so much for watching and following and subscribing to my content and my videos. I make these videos and I forget that there's another person on the other side of the screen watching them. Like sometimes I just think about, you know, the fact that I'm creating the video, and I'm still like really shocked at, you know, the positive reception that I've had, and just thank you so much. In terms of my connection to Hong Kong and like Chinese culture in general, I think because I did grow up in China, I feel very connected to the Chinese identity and like both the culture in mainland China and Hong Kong. However, because I grew up speaking English in school, and like English is my primary language, like it's the language that I can express my like deepest thoughts and emotions in, I always felt like I wasn't Chinese enough. Obviously I can like speak casually and like order things off of a menu, but if you wanted me to like write a deep critical essay on I don't know, thorough in Chinese, that would be difficult. Growing up, I always had like family and friends call me like a 鬼妹 or 老外. So 鬼妹 in Cantonese just means foreign girl, and then 老外 in Mandarin just means like foreigner. So they were always saying like, oh my gosh, like you're so white, because I had a very American accent, and like my interests were more westernized because of the people I was surrounded by and like my school system and everything. So I've always felt really self-conscious about how Chinese I was. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like cooking Chinese food, because it makes me feel like more Chinese. Why did I leave London? And that was one of the questions, now that I'm finally getting to it. I left London because I've always wanted to reconnect with my culture and like my heritage in Hong Kong. I haven't lived here since I was 5 years old. Every time I would visit, it was just for a summer holiday. Like I don't know what it's actually like to be a Hong Konger, to be like a working adult in this city. And I was always nervous to move back because I'm a creative. What am I supposed to do? I work in food. And I don't just mean like as a content creator now, but like even before I was a content creator, my full-time jobs were in food. Like I don't do banking, I don't do finance, like no law, like what am I gonna do? But my boyfriend and I both like decided to take the plunge, and we were like, we will figure it out. Maybe you should try and do content creation full-time, which is what I'm doing now. So when we decided to move, I was like, I'll find a job at a bakery, he's a baker, and we'll just figure it out. Like we're young, there's no better time than now. Next question. How is it adjusting from London to Hong Kong? I've been here for 2 months now, and I gotta tell you guys, that first month was difficult. Like I knew it was gonna be hard, but I didn't know how those difficulties were going to manifest. I didn't know what the exact things that were gonna be so difficult, like trying to set up my banking here, like getting a phone number, finding friends.
I have recorded this voiceover so many times because I want to express how unbelievably privileged and blessed I feel that I can move back in with my parents, that I have a close relationship with them, that I have saved money from, working in London, and also that I'm able to explore this career as a content creator, as a food content creator, and that I have amazing people and friends who follow me online and always leave like the most amazing, wonderful, lovely comments. But on the other side, I find it really difficult sometimes because, I put in work and I feel like I'm constantly working. But sometimes when, you're only counting and looking at things week on week or day by day, you don't see the growth. And I feel like I have to constantly remind myself that I have done a lot and that I have built this platform, which honestly is like unbelievable, amazing. Like it makes me kind of want to cry every single time I talk about it. But it's hard. As I said, I live at home, and I think people are surprised with my following that I decided to do that. But that's just my current situation. I make some money, but not necessarily enough to move out and live with my boyfriend. But hopefully, in due time, if I continue doing what I'm doing, I will be able to earn enough money and then we can move out. And hopefully when that happens, I can share that whole journey with you guys.
Usually, I can pan fry them, but I don't know why today I literally just keep burning it, so I give up. They taste delicious. I slightly burnt the bottom, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's fine. My favorite dipping sauce is just equal parts Chinese black rice vinegar, but you can use any type of vinegar you want. Light soy sauce. A little bit of sesame oil. And then some chili oil or chili sauce, whatever you want. This one's quite spicy, so I'm just gonna use a little bit. I've definitely added too much and it just like ruined the whole thing. I have some like blanched Chinese vegetables on the side. 開飯. Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know how how you guys are doing at home, but try this out. If you've watched till the end of this video, thank you so much. Like, follow, subscribe for more. I literally cannot believe how much I fucking burnt these dumplings. Oh my god. It's not like I haven't made this like a million times.